Good morning, good evening, and good day. Welcome to Expandly's expansion channel and the second webinar in a series that we've been doing on growing your e-commerce business, especially via our software partners and using Expandly as your listings management tools. Today, we're going to be talking about growing on TikTok, utterly prolific growth going on in social media currently. And this is the second piece designed as a slightly more in-depth look at how to make some moves on TikTok Shop. We're joined again by the absolute guru of the sector, Remy Beaumont. Welcome, welcome. Thanks for coming back and putting up with me for a second time. We
Thanks for
had
having
an
me.
incredible feedback from the first session, new users to TikTok, and massive take up on that webinar. And so I did say at the end, there were so many unanswered questions. There were so many questions that I had, and it was such an interesting topic. I did say, I think we're going to need to do another one of these. So appreciate you coming back and giving us a bit more insight. We're going to talk today a little bit about some strategies for creating viral TikTok content. We're going to talk about some tips for converting followers. We're going to talk about some success stories, and importantly, we're going to talk about logistic partnerships, which we hadn't really touched on last time. Remy, it's been a few months. Met face to face a few weeks ago, which was nice. How's it been?
Yeah, absolutely crazy. TikTok Shop isn't really showing any sign of slowing down just yet. And I think, it's a really exciting time to be in the space, especially as there isn't a written rule book. It's, very much being developed as we go along. So, every day is, brand new, very exciting and, growing very, very quickly.
And I'm curious. So is the rule book beginning to take shape? I know it's moving, and there's no defined rules, but is it taking shape?
There are definitely some rules, but the TikTok algorithm is an ever evolving beast. So it's a constant sort of evolution to be playing the game, with the algorithm really. But yeah, it's definitely more established. It's been around coming up to sort of 3 years in the UK, and then sort of 7, 8 months I think in the US now. So it's maturing for sure.
And some politics surrounding TikTok in the US, but not going anywhere for some time, I imagine.
No, I mean, I think there's two mindsets with it really. It's either to press on the brakes and not do anything, or absolutely hammer it and make hay while the sun's shining. And obviously TikTok has sued the US government. I think 7 or 8 creators have sued the US government, and it means that although there is this deadline in place, because it's sort of being classed as like a breach of the First Amendment, I think we're looking at 18 to 24 months. If worst case, it absolute worst case, it did get banned, we've got 18, 24 months. And that's why I think, if people are in the mindset of making hay while the sun's shining, they'll do very, very well over the next few months.
I'm not sure that e-commerce sellers have a reputation for putting the brakes on, really, do they? I think that part of being in this industry and being an e-commerce seller is to create and take opportunity as it exists. So I'm sure that people who are watching this will be pleased to get those tips whilst whilst the opportunity is there. So let's talk a little bit. Let's start with what's going down in terms of where the industry's got to, the size of things, and where you want to go. You've got some slides there.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's jump into it. I think, there are really two key words, and they aren't TikTok Shop. They are social commerce. And when you look at where social commerce is going, and even where we are at, now, compared to where we're going to be in the next sort of 5, 6 years, it's going to be one hell of a ride. And by 2030, it's projected that global social commerce sales are going to be worth $8.5 trillion,
Wow. And
which are just
you've got a
staggering.
bunch of brands already, have you, that you've worked with that are inside this number?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I've worked with a whole load of brands, from beauty to fashion, to FMCG to supplements, and they're brands that are just really taking advantage of this. And it's really one of those things that the quicker you get into it, you get that first movers advantage, right? And off the back of that 8.5 trillion, when you look at the fact that TikTok Shop is responsible for 68% of all social commerce revenue in the US, it really, I think, demonstrates how key TikTok is to any to any e-commerce brand moving forwards. And
Well, especially that bit in the
looking
middle.
at
Yeah.
exactly, so a lot of guys that are still very much hammering it on Meta. For context, Instagram checkout and Facebook Shop is contributing to less than 1% of social commerce revenue in the US. So, TikTok Shop is really, it's come in, it's completely dominating, and it really is the key gateway, to consumers, especially in the UK, especially in the US, and I don't see that changing.
And Remy, what do you think that TikTok's got that Instagram, Facebook, the Meta suite? What is it? What is it that's giving it that push? First in?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a few factors. Obviously, Instagram had Instagram Shop, which kind of failed. I think what it is it's a few things, right? So the algorithm is extremely targeted. It's the eighth wonder of the world, right? It's extremely good at serving people content that it knows they want to watch before they know they want to watch it. And on top of that, it's an extremely frictionless process for the user as well. So it means that conversion rates are much higher. Um, and if we jump into here, I think this is a really great way of illustrating, how the user journey has changed and why TikTok Shop is, really outperforming its competitors. So, looking at the conventional customer journey, right from the top of the funnel in discovery, users were using an array of different apps using Google to actually discover these products. They were getting their social proof, they were researching and sort of piquing interest, through Google, and then showing intent to purchase and actually purchasing either through Amazon, the website, or brick and mortar. And what TikTok's doing is it's just completely streamlining everything, every element of the marketing funnel, every element of the sales funnel. So users will discover products through TikTok Shop on TikTok. They can see other users using those products. So that's the social proof. They can research the product directly within TikTok Shop, obviously piquing interest. They can show intent to actually purchase it through TikTok by adding it to cart, and then they can actually convert right there on TikTok Shop as well. So, by basically removing a whole load of unnecessary steps, conversion rates go absolutely through the roof. And when you combine, the depth of the algorithm, the addictiveness of the app, I mean, the average user globally spends 90 minutes on the app per day. When you take that there's 1.6 billion users, that is a lot of people consuming TikTok content. And when you're putting shoppable content in front of them in their entertainment space, and relying on impulsiveness, it's very easy if you make the whole process easy for the user, right? Um, I think this, for people that don't know, is a really important way for people to understand how you can sell through TikTok. So there's four key ways. So talking about the algorithm is predominantly serving users short videos. So your standard TikTok videos that you would be seeing, you can be scrolling through, some will be shoppable, some won't be shoppable. The product is tagged right there in the video, allowing the user to add it to their cart and obviously check out, all within the app. It's definitely worth mentioning, not like Instagram or some other apps where it's then directing you to the brand's website. All of this happens right within TikTok. Live streams are a massive thing in Asia, and we are seeing a big increase in their popularity in the UK and in the US as well. So users, for example, live streaming, getting ready in the morning, all of the products that that creator might be using are available to purchase within the shop right there. And obviously they can answer questions in real time. They can do a whole load of things which you can't do in a video. They can have flash discounts, and really, really drive a lot of GMV in a very short period.
Presumably, you need a minimum number of followers or something to be able to have that type of shop, do you?
So not for brands specifically, no, but for creators, then they will need 1,000 followers. Obviously, all of these are available to brands and to affiliates, which we will get onto a little bit later if I refer to the creator. But no, you shouldn't need, as long as you've got e-commerce access and you've set up on TikTok Shop, that shouldn't be a barrier. And then the two last ways are the product showcase. So if users come and click onto your account, they look at your products, they can purchase right there, basically like an Amazon storefront. And then the shop tab. So the shop tab is, similar to a few other shopping apps, whose names shall not be mentioned. But that essentially allows users to discover products in a different way as well. And TikTok's actually updated the shop tab more recently. This was actually a newer feature that they've added, and they've also added user-generated content being added instead of some of the pictures there. So actually, when you're discovering that product, your first experience of it, isn't a photo, that was taken and its background removed. It's actually a piece of content, and I think those products are proving to perform really, really well. And it's another way for brands to be showcasing their products and converting. So I think it's time that we dive into some success stories and sort of demonstrate just how powerful TikTok Shop can be. So if we look at the first brand, Nature Spell, one of my clients, absolutely amazing brand and an amazing story. They went from literally zero, only ever having sold like a few hundred units, to a $10 million brand in a year. They sold over 1 million units in that year, and you can just see that their growth is absolutely exponential. And that all comes down to their viral content strategy. That strategy went so viral that we actually had Lewis Capaldi. If you don't know who Lewis Capaldi is, he's a massive, would you say pop artist, kind of pop artist in the UK. And I think we'll let his words say just how viral the content went.
If I see another video on my For You page about fucking rosemary oil, I'm going to lose my mind.
So yeah, that one was absolutely everywhere. And off the back of building the brand through TikTok, they're now stocked in Holland & Barrett, Boots, Superdrug. So it really goes to show that it's not just for brands that are already established in brick and mortar to expand to TikTok Shop, but equally, brands can really grow scale through TikTok Shop and then go into brick and mortar and become.
Yeah, I was going to ask whether or not
unquote,
that was a bell shape, or whether that growth has continued, or whether it's a spike kind of thing.
Sure, yeah. I mean, the rosemary hair oil was definitely like a super viral product. Like, there's not many case studies that have come close to what Nature Spell's achieved, but their growth is still astronomical. They've expanded into the US now. They've expanded into India. They're in a lot of other markets, and the conversations being entertained, with a lot of these retailers have been off the back of its success on TikTok. So they're definitely here to stay. They've expanded their product range, offering bundles, and it is one of those products that once people have purchased it through TikTok, then they'll probably go and purchase it through a brick and mortar store when they need to restock on it.
And then when it comes to things like Lewis Capaldi or some kind of very high end influencer, pop star, whatnot. Was that a strategic part of it, or was there an element of accidental growth that came from Lewis Capaldi picking this up?
Yeah, I mean, we didn't plan Lewis Capaldi to make this. The content essentially ended up going extremely viral from a creator, an affiliate documenting her journey with the product. And essentially it was working so well that nobody believed that it was working so well. So loads of people ended up buying it and then showcasing their journey to basically try and say that she was lying. And what it ended up doing, and I have got some slides to sort of illustrate this later on, but it ended up creating a bit of an infinity loop where it was like a chain reaction that once we started it, we couldn't stop it. It was just going absolutely crazy. So obviously, always great when somebody like Lewis Capaldi, picks it up. Everybody knew who he was talking about, even though he didn't mention Nature Spell. It definitely would have helped with sales, but it just goes to show. And this post got hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of likes as well. So it was relatable because people were just seeing it everywhere. It was crazy.
I see. So I mean, there's an element of luck in there, but at the same time, that's the nature of virality, isn't it? That's the nature of social commerce. So when you to a more traditional seller that's spending money on ad spend and money on SEO and very fixed kind of campaigns, there is an element of lighting the fire and then getting it to burn with, I guess in some ways, some lack of control over how big that might get. But I guess that's only a good thing until you stock out.
Well, that's it really. We can do everything that's within our control to try and make the brand, the content and the product go as viral as possible. But once it's out there, it's it's the world's choice, what happens next. And there obviously is great things like this happening.
And are you finding you've had some cosmetics there in the previous slide, and then a health come beauty product from Nature Spell? Are you finding any sort of patterns of what types of products, if sellers are kind of orientate themselves in terms of feasibility, which product sectors are in your experience have done the best?
Sure. I mean, there is a place for pretty much every brand within TikTok Shop, but the brands that have margin are the ones that do best, because the most important thing is getting it out there to affiliates on TikTok Shop. So we see, beauty do very well. We see supplements, fitness do very well, where, they have a decent margin and they essentially just can afford to give out samples to affiliates, because that really kickstarts the sort of organic chain reaction that comes as a result of it. And off the back of it, for example, Filter here, Filter by Molly May, a fake tan brand, working with us, were achieving a ROAS of 91 using TikTok Shop affiliates. So we did also put shoppable Spark ads on the content, but because of the nature of being able to give it to creators, to be able to get bottles in hands and people talking about it, that obviously drives a much bigger impact and a much bigger dent. There's no point doing TikTok Shop if you're going to be precious about who you're handing out the samples to, essentially, because you need it to get out there. You need people to be talking about it. And you do that, and then you get results like this: £91 generated for every pound spent. And obviously,
and in terms of that initial capex, roughly speaking, how many samples would a brand like that, not specifically Molly May, but how many samples would somebody be giving out? We're talking tens, thousands, hundreds of thousands?
No. So I would say monthly. It's obviously a scalable thing, right? When you start off, you want to be able to justify, hitting hard and sort of doing at least 50. And then obviously you want to scale that month on month. And we got some brands now that are doing, a few thousand. Obviously there are additional considerations, with brands like Filter, for example, where, they do have a brand image to maintain. So there is still an element of quality control. However, the more that we can scale it, the more we can get it out there, the more it will grow.
Okay.
Cool. So really diving into how these brands have done it, we will have a bit of a look at our secret success strategy. So creating viral content that converts is really about three things: the hook, the body, and the call to action. So the hook is the first 1 to 5 seconds, although arguably now with attention spans shrinking, probably 1 to 3 seconds. The body is the middle chunk of the video, and then the call to action will be the sort of final 5 to 10 seconds. So the hook is really about grabbing the attention of the user, piquing their interest, and that is really the determining factor of if somebody is going to watch the rest of the video. If you haven't got the hook right, don't bother. The body of the video is where you're landing your key messaging. So everything about the brand, everything about the product, but like doing it in an engaging way that's also relatable. So reminding the user why this is actually relevant to them is obviously going to continue. They're going to continue being engaged. And then a call to action that is going to drive the user to take an action. And then obviously trying to leverage that sort of fear of missing out element. So there's always things that can be done in terms of limited numbers left and things like that, that will really make people sort of fear not, people instinctively are more driven to do something by fear of losing something than by desire to gain something. So it's really about sort of gaming the psychology of the TikTok user with that.
Mm. And do you do things like split testing and more traditional sampling of videos, or changing hooks and bodies, those sections?
Yeah, no, absolutely. So we do a lot of A/B testing, especially when it comes to applying paid spend afterwards. And you can quite often find that you can have, a minute-long video, the first 5 seconds it's changed, and suddenly that video goes on to do millions and millions of views organically instead of, 10K, 20K views. So, the hook is really, what you want to be changing out, because, ultimately there is so much content posted on TikTok, and I'm talking tens, if not hundreds of millions of videos a week just in the UK. You need to be creating content that's going to pique interest, because there's so much competition that, it is really, attention is currency now. I can't hear you.
Presumably
sorry.
that's getting harder and harder. Now there's more and more content. The more, every week goes by, or...
I wouldn't say it's getting harder. I would say you have to get better.
Okay.
Ultimately the same thing's going to work. The number of users on TikTok is only ever increasing. A month ago, I was being told by TikTok that there was 1 billion monthly active users, and I was at TikTok HQ the other day, and now the number is 1.6 billion. So, there's more users, there's more content, but only 9% of users actually create content. And I think that's something that, people don't leverage enough, because the amount of content being produced, it's there's more demand than supply. And, especially when you take 1.6 billion using the app for 90 minutes a day, on average opening the app 20 times a day, it's a lot of screen time. So a lot of content is being consumed. Jumping into the hook in a bit more detail, it is absolutely critical. So we really want to be grabbing the attention and we're getting viewers to show interest in the rest of the video. So we really need to make sure that the first few seconds are memorable. And, in the example of a brand, we want to make sure that we're showing the product at the beginning in an exciting way and in a natural setting, highlighting any benefit instantly. We want to make sure that we're solving a problem. So sparking interest, explaining how that product actually solves a particular pain point for your audience. And then obviously showing the product as well. So up close. We want to spark curiosity right at the start. You know, we're not trying to hide the fact that this is an ad. We need to make people still understand that it is, but we need to do it in a very creative way. And there are a number of different hooks that we see work really well. So just as some examples here, stop scrolling if you want X. I can't believe this worked. The number one, X for Y. You know, I actually can't believe this, you know, only costs X. You know, these are scroll stopping hooks. These are what people are going to be, you know, super clung onto. And better still, well, depending on how you look at it, the world is a horrible place. People love negative hooks. So hooks that are like, stop wasting your time, you know, don't waste your money. We can't keep gatekeeping this. I wish I never bought this. You know, throughout the content, it obviously transpires that it's a positive thing about your product, but you know, people love the drama. People love something to have gone wrong. So people are going to be way more engaged if they think that there is a problem and that, you know, you're not, I wouldn't say ranting to the camera, but you know, you're sort of storytelling throughout the content, right?
Yeah, I mean, the whole negativity piece is, I mean, it is just real life, isn't it? But it's an uncanny way of a lot of hooking into the straight human nature.
Yeah, I mean, I think, you know, the same thing. If you went and watched a film and everything just went right for the whole 2 hours, you'd be sitting there thinking, God, this is boring. So, you know, it's exactly the same thing. If everything always went right, then, you know, everyone would always be bored. So, you know, they're definitely, you know, a negative hook will always outperform a positive hook for sure. So, the body. There are 3 sort of recommended ways of structuring the main body of your content. So the first being a product showcase, you know, demoing that product, talking about its unique selling points, showing its unique selling points. Storytelling, everybody loves a story. This is an extremely powerful one. This is largely responsible for Nature Spell's success. You know, firsthand people telling a story, whether it's you as the brand directly or whether that is you engaging affiliates or user-generated content creators to do that on your behalf. And the final being a tutorial. So really step-by-step instructions. Here's how I achieved, you know, X result with, you know, my fake tan, or here's how, you know, I started sleeping way better because I was taking this supplement, or, you know, whatever it is, actually, you know, showing users and linking it back to yourself is really powerful. Throughout the content, it's really, really important to remain engaging. So remaining enthusiastic throughout the video, you know, showing the journey, the packaging, unboxing it, testing it, the results and your reaction to the results, the uniqueness of the product. You know, obviously products that have USPs will outperform products that don't have USPs, but diving into the speeds and feeds of that product and the must knows will get the viewers excited. Like I just mentioned, personal stories around it. So I am using it will create that strong personal connection and resonance. You know, I think the key thing is remembering that if you're a brand, you're not a brand on TikTok. You're a creator. You're there to top line, entertain or educate. And you know, you want to have that personal aspect, right? People buy from people, and it's no different on TikTok. And then showing the product up close. So clearly showing the product that you are talking about as you talk through both its features and benefits. And then the final part of the video is the call to action. So this is really about guiding users on how to place an order through TikTok. So pointing towards the product link in the bottom of the video, you know, verbally saying, you know, buy it from the orange basket down there. You can have sort of arrow signal, arrow stickers that really draw the user's attention to the basket. That will increase your conversion rate. Calling out incentives. So, you know, obviously with TikTok Shop being TikTok Shop being impulse led, any discounts or anything like that, like bundles, free shipping, will really help drive sales. Really leaning into that fear of missing out element. And then creating a sense of urgency. So ways to trigger immediate purchase, you know, high demand, limited supply. today only. You don't want to miss this. We're all doing this. Really leaning into that fear of missing out is super, super effective. So it's all well and good brands creating this content for their account, and that is absolutely the first step. However, how do we do this at scale is probably the most important question. And the answer to that is affiliates. So leveraging affiliates increases sales by up to 85% compared to sellers that aren't using affiliates. So they are a absolutely vital function of TikTok Shop. So sellers connect directly with creators. You choose creators that you want to work with. They choose the products that they want to promote, and you send them samples. The creators then make TikTok videos or they live stream featuring your products, and they will get a commission every time somebody buys through their video or their live stream. And that is all paid automatically.
And where do you find these people?
So there are a number of ways. There's either through TikTok's internal affiliate marketplace, which you'll find in the seller center once you're set up on TikTok Shop. There's obviously agencies and people like me that have a whole long list of contacts and relationships with thousands and thousands of creators that we leverage for brands. And then there's also third-party softwares that can be used to identify them as well. And just to really illustrate why affiliates are the ecom brand's best friend, looking at the top 5 creators for April here, this creator generated almost $1 million. This creator, 650K, 600K, almost 500, almost 500 again. So April's top affiliate generated almost $1 million, and 100K of this was on one product alone. So connecting with these creators to make shoppable content will really elevate, where you go. You're paying, when you start building up, there may be some flat fee elements, but it's all primarily commission based. So it's all automatically paid when a sale's made. If there's a return or a refund, TikTok will deal with that. You won't be at a loss. And I think the most important thing is that TikTok is now a performance marketing channel. It's not an app where it's just dancing teenagers. All of your sales and metrics are tracked and they are crystal clear. Your ROI, your ROAS, everything is crystal clear because it's all done closed loop.
And then just to help giving us an indication of, without, we're not talking about necessarily creator earnings, but for a brand that makes $1 million of GMV on a campaign like that, what's that cost them in proportion to selling $1 million GMV on Amazon, for instance, giving away a third of their turnover ish to Amazon and any other ad spend and whatnot?
So it's very, very competitive. It has increased slightly. It's slightly more expensive in the US than it is in the UK, but it's around 5% platform fee, 1.8% in the first 60 or 90 days in the UK. And then obviously it is actually up to you to set what commission rate you want for the creators. So, that 100K, that creator with an interesting name at the top there generated, he probably would have got 10 to 15% commission on that. So, they probably made $10,000 to $15,000. So obviously got to subtract that from your top line. That was organic sales. There is obviously, a whole nother conversation and a whole nother, hour-long webinar about diving into paid ads for TikTok Shop. But they are, just another way to reach a whole new audience. I think something that's really important, something that's really worth mentioning, it's super important. Affiliates, obviously, I've mentioned that they help with the scalability, but they really kickstart a chain reaction. And that chain reaction is the TikTok loop. TikTok's retail path to purchase is not linear. It's an infinite loop. And this is exactly what happened with Nature Spell. So forget the marketing funnel, forget the sales funnel. Users discover products, they consider products, they purchase products, they review products, and they participate in the discussion, they participate in the community. And what that does is then obviously generate more content and more content and more content, which ends up creating this infinite loop of users buying, users sharing their experience, and converting. So on here, purchase is 0.3, and 0.6. So it's a super powerful platform. And I think it really comes down to these three elements. So getting your brand account strategy on lock, getting your content, super not polished. That's the complete wrong word, but getting your strategy. The strategy is way more important than what the actual content looks like. You master that, you start scaling it with affiliates. You then start putting shoppable paid ads on top of it in the form of Spark ads. If you don't know what Spark ads are, they basically take your influencer or your affiliate's content and they boost that. So when users see your ad or engage with your ad, it's not coming from shop name, it's coming from the affiliate. So, I'm surprised I haven't used the word authentic yet on this webinar.
You did the last one.
TikTok is all about authenticity. So you have to be relatable, you have to be, resonating, and you have to be true to yourself, and so does the creator. And Spark ads really increase that authenticity. Therefore, they increase the retention rate. And, the way that TikTok makes money off of TikTok Shop is obviously by showing users ads. As a creator, the longer that you keep somebody on TikTok, the more TikTok's going to reward you for that, because the more ads TikTok's going to show to that user and the more money TikTok is going to make. So you master those elements and you are basically guaranteed TikTok Shop success.
Easy.
It is easy. It is easy. Once you know the steps, once you lock down the steps, it is another channel that I really don't think people should be sleeping on.
It's interesting, isn't it? When you, for some sellers, and I don't want to be generational in terms of the business mindset of some of sellers who are really taking advantage of the reward of this, which the statistics just absolutely speak for themselves. I think when it comes to longer standing to more traditional businesses that have perhaps been in e-commerce for some time, we've got a full generation of business now in e-commerce, and overlaid that to even more traditional, perhaps bricks and mortar business, but certainly e-commerce businesses, some of which should be that are quite significant. This webinar is targeted specifically, and we've invited sellers way more than 1 million in GMV already, just because of the feedback from the first webinar of some established sellers. It's interesting when it comes to something like viral promotion, how you start to budget for that and how you justify that to, if you're running an e-commerce division of a business, how you justify that to a board, or how a general purpose agency is able to justify that to a more traditional e-commerce business. So are you starting to see a real widespread now of the types of organizations that are selling on TikTok? And moreover, if you have, because you're nodding, so that's really good news, what are those barriers that you're able to break down for those places?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, look, the likes of Coca-Cola are selling on TikTok Shop, Frito-Lay, L'Oreal, Maybelline, big brands are selling on there. And it's really because the results speak for themselves. I think that is the number one thing, right? That reduces any sort of board friction. The numbers are undeniable. The ROAS is undeniable. You're taking a channel which you would be using anyway, and you're converting it with essentially zero additional effort or resource into a direct sales channel. And you just can't argue with that. Obviously, you know, brands of that sort of scale have like an extensive value matching process. You know, there are additional steps, but this is really why brands like Nature Spell are able to, you know, that don't have so much red tape or hoops to jump through, are able to, you know, go absolutely crazy. And you know, sometimes we will have a pitch where the brand is almost essentially a little bit nervous about, you know, speaking to their boss about it because they don't think they're going to have buy-in. But you know, sometimes we'll actually have the brand say to us, like our CEO is saying, like, why the hell are we not on TikTok yet? Like, we've got to get on it right now, and they'll just throw absolutely everything at it. So yeah, there you know, there obviously is, you know, more red tape with big brands, but you know, there's ROAS, right? Influencer marketing, social media marketing for so long has not, you know, ROI hasn't even been in the picture. It's not even been a consideration, but now it's the standard, and you know, there is no arguing with that.
Awesome.
Okay, amazing. I
Well,
would
before
love.
I'm going to leave that screen up there for people to
Okay.
connect with you on LinkedIn, because you create a lot of good content, and you're a good guy to have in the Rolodex. That's showing an age, isn't it? In the digital Rolodex, as it were. So I'd encourage everyone who's watching or going to watch in the future to connect using those codes. Whip your phone out now. There is just one more piece here in terms of the logistics element. You know, we were talking just before we went live about the logistic complications that a viral spike, like the brand that you showed there, of how, you know, smaller retailers might really struggle with that, and the benefits then of using a 3PL or using an organization that can scale and ramp quickly, and indeed the way in which you might buy in a strategy of batch purchase and burn. You know, that you're going to market on TikTok with a product, you're taking a batch of it, and then once it's run through, it's run through. Do you find that that's a more common way of doing things, or are you dealing more with brands that have got consistent stock of things all the way through?
Yeah, I think, you know, consistent stock is definitely the ideal situation, but I think the thing is that a lot of brands don't think that they're going to go that viral until they do. And obviously, you know, consistent stock is not always a, you know, it's not always realistic when you're going super viral and there's millions of people talking about your product. So, you know, the brands that do have consistent product will do well. Some brands play into the fact that they don't have consistent product. So, you know, we work with one very well-known protein brand, and they release like limited edition flavors. They go out of stock within literally minutes of going live. And to start with, I know that it was genuine sort of production issues that was causing that. They weren't able to get enough. And then they actually just started turning the product off every now and then to play into the fact that it's out of stock again, etc. So, you know, I think the main thing is being prepared to scale, being built to scale. You know, I'm not saying go and order, you know, $1 billion of stock and have it sitting in a warehouse somewhere. But what I am saying is have a plan, you know, have a plan for, you know, if the best case scenario happens, because, you know, there's no point getting in the situation where, you know, you go viral and then you just can't keep up. So, you know, obviously working with a 3PL and everything like that is exactly what you need to be able to prepare for that.
Yeah, I think, you know, for sellers who are perhaps already selling on e-commerce at the moment, might be selling on Amazon, might be multi-marketplace. By using a 3PL gives you that flexibility of concentrating on working on your business, knowing that you've got that capacity to ramp or de-ramp at any one given time, and importantly, the systems and processes that are really set up for that kind of surge effect of, right, we're gonna, you know, we've got a campaign going, we're organized in that campaign, we're seeing an uptick in the virality of those products, and then working with the those 3PLs to sort of be able to cater for that, where in your own business you might struggle to ramp, resources, machines, equipment, all that stuff, all that type of stuff. So I think that really helps complement the nature of social commerce, and importantly, you can do it alongside that. This is not a separate piece. So you can do it alongside any other marketplaces that you're already on.
Absolutely.
Wow, Remy. Okay, that was another pretty intense 45 minutes of. I mean, it's almost hard to grapple with the scale of the opportunity when it comes to TikTok, and it's for many existing and established e-commerce sellers. It's almost this kind of social commerce as this alien life form, and yet it's so tantalizingly close with just some relatively well, as you said, it's easy functional changes. So I'm sure that if anyone's watching and they need to summons your help, like a genie in a bottle, they can scan that QR code, and hopefully people are doing that now and will do in the future. I think that there is still, I still feel unfulfilled with finishing the topic of TikTok, and maybe we'll need to do something on the ads and the some of that more some of those Spark ads, things like that, in the future, if we get some feedback from people watching that they'd like to do that. So Remy, once again, thank you so much for your insight. You're a super true guru, and even more respect since I found out you're a farmer. So I just want to throw that one in there. In a previous life. So
in a previous life, yeah.
In a previous life, and now TikTok extraordinaire. So congratulations on all you've achieved and how you've helped. I mean, you've made some brands a lot of money, haven't you? You've really made a big deep impact on social commerce.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I need to revisit my own e-com enterprises, I think, because I'm making everyone else a lot of money. I think I want to get a little piece of the pie now.
Well, I think, talking about positive hooks and negative hooks, if there's anything that an e-commerce seller likes, is the idea of making a lot of money, don't we all, whether it's a side hustle or an established business. So again, thank you so much for being involved. We'll be posting this webinar is going live on LinkedIn and on Facebook, and then we'll post the recording on YouTube, on our channel on YouTube, for if you want to share this around. Thanks again for watching. We're back in full stream now. The sun's out in the UK in making more content for the Expanded channel. So with that in mind, Remy, thank you, and
Thank you.
good day.